Hey there. Welcome to another episode of Heart and Hustle, Visionary Healers, Movers, and Shakers. I am your host, Paulette Rees-Denis, here to bring you magic makers from around the globe, people who are creating change, who have small businesses, large businesses, hobbies, but they are creating the life of their dreams. And that, my friends, is what living is all about. So let us know how you like this episode. Please subscribe, and we'll see you there. Thanks for joining. All right, my friends, welcome to another episode of Heart and Hustle, Visionary Healers, Movers, and Shakers. Oh, I'm so excited to be here with our guest today. This is great. I am Paulette Rees-Denis. I am your movement motivator and your passion instigator, your lifestyle and business coach for creatives. And I love bringing you people who are making change in the world and doing what they love, following their passion, and actually making a living doing that, which is also very cool. So today, and I have to tell you, Joseph Corella is here with us today. I'm so excited to actually meet you here on the screen because you are someone after my own heart as a dancer and choreographer and creator. And it's not that often that I actually have men on my show.
Yeah, I love it. Well, I'm honored to be here
So
and
great.
chat.
So
So
I
thank you
think
for
you
having
are
me.
like 130, somewhere in the 130s that I've been doing this for now 4 years.
My gosh.
And maybe 5 men.
I've made it. I passed.
Woohoo! So welcome, welcome, welcome.
Well,
I'm
thank
so
you so
glad to
much.
have you here and so glad to introduce you to all our people out there in Heart and Hustle Land. And so excited to hear your stories. I got some questions for you, but I would love you to just kind of tell us about yourself.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you again for having me on. And I love um this is perfect. I love movement. And so, movement is a key foundation of what I do. And long story long, I started dance when I was a kid, around 7. Really grateful that I wound up finding the magic of dance and the magic of movement at a
Mm,
young age. I really didn't understand what I was learning, but I just knew that I loved it. And I continued with it and wanted to make a career out of it. I knew I wanted to be on Broadway at a young age, and that was my goal and my vision. And I made it to New York and wound up being on Broadway and did national tours. I've performed all over, from film and television to Broadway, and I love musicals. I'm a musical theater nerd, so there's been a lot of stuff in my life that has been around that. I love choreographing as well. And I wound up getting into teaching about 8 years ago. And at that time, I was not happy performing anymore. And I think it's because the universe was like, it's time to move on to the next section. And so teaching came into play through my not being happy in life. And I said, universe, whatever you want me to do. And I started teaching adults. That opportunity arose to teach adults, which was interesting because I never used to love to teach. And I was the performer. Like, I loved being on stage,
sure.
but it started to switch, and I started realizing, oh my gosh, I love teaching, and I love teaching adults dance. And so through that, I started to really grow as an instructor. And then I wound up creating a dance fitness program called 567 Broadway, which is a dance fitness class for everyone that is for all levels. And it's to Broadway music. So the first part of class, we do follow along cardio and strength training. And then the second part, we learn a combination to a musical. Like this Saturday, we're doing Cats, the musical. Again, this is really something for everyone. And slowly but surely, this class started growing into what it wanted to become.
Ah,
And it started growing me as a person, and I felt it in my heart. And I wound up really stopping performing. I still choreograph, but I didn't perform as much anymore because I knew I needed to devote my time to this concept and this idea. And it's been incredible to see the journey with it. And I have people from 18 to 75 that come together and share in the magic of dance and the magic of music, the magic of the arts. There's so many layers to it, obviously, with like the health benefits of what
right,
dancing
right.
does for you, but also there's a lot of other things that that it does for your soul, I would say. And so I am very passionate about sharing that message to as many people as I can, so that people can, there's many experiences in life, and I feel like when we share our journeys with each other, it helps us
Mm,
connect to each other. Instead of me saying, this is what you must do, I want to share what has helped me in my life and what I've learned along the way, and hope that that can help you, or at least it can open another door to guide you in the right direction for your life. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
whew, that's really amazing, amazing, and fabulous. And I mean, we are on so many similar paths, different genres of dance.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I would love to think that I'm Bob Fosse reincarnated, but
I love it. Own it.
but I mean, I started too when I was 7 as a classically trained ballet jazz dancer. Jazz was my thing. I loved it. I tried ballet. They told me you don't have the body to be a dancer.
Mm,
I'm like,
I've
well,
heard this over and over
fuck
again for sure.
you.
And I
Right?
hope that didn't stifle you from
No,
continuing,
are
because
you
that can,
kidding?
I've heard stories where that
I
does happen.
created a global dance company.
I mean, there you go. You were
Yeah,
like, listen, I'm going to use that as fuel to keep going. I know that one. That's for sure.
yeah.
So,
So, okay. So one of the things, and so I've, kind of perused all your little Instagram posts and stuff, and you have some beautiful, beautiful posts.
thank you.
And I would love to talk about a couple things with you.
Okay.
I'd love to talk about the idea of community, because you
Okay.
bring that up. I would love to talk about some of the obstacles, and I know one of the things you talked about was being a closeted gay man.
Hmm.
Um, but you have such a beautiful, huge following. And so all the transitions, so from performer to teacher, and I totally get that because I love to teach. I'm so with you on that. And
Yeah.
I retired from performing, although I am coming out again next May
I
for
love it.
a little mini performance.
Love it.
but um, but but I have enjoyed so much teaching my dancers how to be teachers, how to be performers, how to be just dancers.
Yeah.
And that's the key right there.
Yeah.
Because you gotta have it here. You gotta
Yeah.
have the joy of the movement, right?
Yeah. It has to be in your heart. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
So talk to me a little bit about your transition from performer to teacher. You did a little bit in your intro, but
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and touching back just a little bit of like, dance for me has really, yeah, at a young age I knew I was gay, and growing up in Phoenix, Arizona. And I grew up in a very religious family, and this is my story and my journey, and what I experienced along the way. Of There was a lot of things in my heart that were telling me this is not this is what people are saying you shouldn't do. This is not right for you. And who, I would hear a lot in church about not being, that being gay was wrong. There was a lot of things that were really trying to pull me down. And I also don't, I want to express how psychologically, when you know who you are and you have to suppress that,
mm,
what it can do to you mentally. Like you knew, and I liked, guys in high school, and I could never be open about that. I could never hold a guy's hand. I could never go to prom like that. There's just all these things and what it does to you mentally. And that's just a little touch on that. But like, dance was the thing, the arts. I didn't want to move beyond just dance. It was the arts that were the thing that kind of pulled my heart and kept me going forward, and really saved me, and still do to this day. I'm in a much different, much different place now. I've been married, 13 years. My husband's
yeah.
amazing. And yeah, so to be sitting here today and looking back at a time when it was terrifying to just own who I was in many different ways, being bullied a lot too for dancing. There
Mm.
wasn't a lot of male dancers growing up. I was
What
probably the
was that
only
in
one.
high school?
I started when I was 7. So, but I went to a private school up until junior high, and then junior high with a whole new, to this public school that I went to in my neighborhood. It was rough. It was really rough that first year. However, I kept hold of what I loved. And that is a big thing that I really try to teach people, or teach my students, is that your heart will tell you what you should do, and hold on to that with all your might.
Mm,
Even because as other people are as, well, are you sure you want to do that? Or especially for me, I was being made fun of a lot. Like, oh, you're dance, you're a fairy, faggot. I know all these things that I constantly heard. Um, but the thing is, I held on to that. And I learned that, and I remember I wanted to show. I'm not this person anymore. I don't want to show people anymore.
right.
Like, if you like it, great. If you don't, hope you find what works for you. If you don't like what I'm doing, so be it. But at that time in junior high, I was like, I'm going to show you
Right.
what I'm worth. And I was like, because I'm here, well, I have to be here. And so I'm going to show you. And there was a school talent show. And I will never forget this moment. This was a big life-changing moment for me. I wound up doing I brought there's this girl that I used to partner with at my dance studio. And so I was like, let's do this duo to One Sweet Day by Mariah Carey and Backstreet Boys at the school talent show. And we put this duo together, and we did this duo in front of the school at the talent show. And I will never forget, we got a standing ovation at the end of that performance. And it was a weird moment for me. And there was a lot of things I still had to learn about performing for me and not for other people. However, the next day at school, I went from being one of the most bullied people to one of the most like, we love you. Where this is, oh my gosh, you're so, and it was a weird thing. And
Bit
I
weird,
learned,
yeah.
and then I learned some other horrible habits that were like, let me dance for you. Let me dance for you. And now I'm like, no, I'm going to dance from my heart and continue to follow my heart. But the one thing that I learned through that was never let go of what you love. Never, like, hold on to that and follow your heart and let it guide you. And I've done that through the rest of my life. That's why, even right now, I've been having more conversations with people via podcast, and my heart is telling me to continue doing that, to share my story, to share my journey, to share what I can offer to people with what I've learned in my life, beyond just seeing like, oh, well, Joseph teaches, this is what he does. Like, well, there's a huge story of why I do what I do, and I hope that I can help other people through my experience. But I know for today, where I am, it's because of following my heart, though it might not be easy and it might be terrifying at times to open a new door that I don't know what is behind that door, and allowing myself to continue to move forward. I want to experience the most in life, and I know that the thing is that, like, what we talked about is like, movement is key on helping. It's for sure been key on helping me stay connected to my true self.
Yeah. Wow. So, the hero's journey, right? We all have some sort of hero's journey. And especially as we get older, we have more experience to share. And
Yep.
you have, I mean, your story is so profound, and it's not unusual, but it's so, what you say, to follow your heart has so much to offer, right? To people, young and old,
Hmm.
right? I mean, how many older people have never been able to follow their heart?
Hmm.
How many younger people are so confused that they want to follow their heart and have experiences like you had?
Yeah.
Wow. It's so good. So I love that you're doing this and reaching out more and speaking more.
Yeah, I do this a little bit in my class, especially. That's why I love musicals, for the fact of becoming different characters and the stories that musicals tell.
Mm,
So, they tell there's lessons to always be learned, even when it's a tap, campy, shall we say, musical. There's still some lesson to be learned. And I love that art does that for us. It teaches us in different ways. It connects us, all different types of people, together when you sit there and you watch a show. And that's why I love bringing that into my class. So I have these discussions in my class, but I do feel my heart is tugging on me again. And call that the universe, call that my higher self, whatever it is. I know that it's tugging me to share what I've experienced in this, and on my journey, and and not be afraid. There was a time when I used to really be, well, I'm just going to keep this to myself to a certain
mm,
extent. I don't want to ruffle people's feathers, or I don't want, if I say A, B, and C, it's going to upset people. And it's like, well, this is my journey. I'm not ashamed of it. And I'm proud of the human I have become in this world through my journey. and
Mm,
where it's led me specifically to where I am now. And I really try to encourage people in my class, like, where are you today?
mhm.
Like, dance, like, you clicked by, you're here, we're dancing together. Where are you today, and what do you need to move through? Listen to your heart, and it's going to guide you. And I know dance will help people overall. Like, dance, obviously the health benefits, that just feeling good and feeling, taking care of your body and
Right.
mind is already going to bring on more positivity in your life. But also too, it really has shown me the things that I need to pull away, or the things I need to let go of. Ooh, and I'm feeling anxiety and movement alone, when you're just like, oh, I
Oh,
just
yeah.
got to put on some music and move. And then, but to learn that lesson can be really, it can take a long time to say, oh yeah, I need to move. And I learned that at a young age, when I didn't want to go to dance class sometimes, and I would go to dance class anyways, and I would have the best class of my life. And I
Yes.
was like, God, I did not want to even come here.
Right. Right.
And now I did. And now I'm like, that was the most amazing class. And I'm really grateful I learned that, because that has taught me, maybe sometimes when I don't feel like it, like maybe if I just take a little small step forward,
Yeah.
it can, and it does change the course of a lot of things.
Absolutely. Oh, I talk about this all the time. It's sometimes it's that first step,
Mm-hmm.
and
It's
I've
always, yeah.
seen, so I mean, I just started teaching at a new place in town. Or it's not a new place, it's a new place for me.
Yeah.
And I actually have a 92-year-old woman in my belly dance
I'm
class.
like, I love it. That's
She's
amazing.
amazing. And she's hilarious too. And I just love that. And I think so many people, as they get older, they're afraid to move more, or they get more
Yeah.
sedentary, or they get more set in their ways, and then they start getting stiff and this and that. I'm like, yeah, because you're not moving,
Yeah.
and oh, it's so hard sometimes. It's like, come on and dance with
I
me.
know. And there's a lot of little layers to pull off. And, I'm grateful for people in my life, educators in my life, that helped push me forward. And that's why I don't take lightly for what I do, of really guiding people to, yeah, just take that first step. And, you're going to maybe experience all these different emotions, and then to see as when you see the light come on in their eyes,
Oh,
it's the best. And there's
it
been some
is the
people where I'm
best.
like, they come into class, and especially before the pandemic, with my live classes, some people come in and I'd be like, oh, they did not like class. Like, they did. No, they're the ones that come back the most,
Right.
because there's something that comes on. And then to see them go through this transformation is really incredible. And it inspires me to really, I'm like, as a community, as you talked about, like community, coming together and watching each other grow in many different ways is really inspiring. And as an instructor, I love it. Inspires me to be the best human I can
Mm,
be in this world, watching them and what they experience. Or somebody that says, recently somebody said, my YouTube tutorial, because I have stuff on YouTube as well. And she's been dealing with cancer. And so through chemo and radiation, she's been doing my YouTube tutorials. And, she posted herself doing one of the dances that I've taught. And it was really, she inspired me so much with her strength. And the fact that she posted this and shared some
wow.
vulnerability that is, I know, doubt not, that's difficult. And I thanked her, and we had a nice conversation via social media. And I asked if I could repost it. And, and she was like, yes, please. And it was just such a beautiful experience with something that I have no clue was going on, to have that. And that is where community is really important. I think um, to have these conversations, to come together, I think we're entering a new day and age that we really need, we really need the magic of dance and music
Yeah.
to pull us together. Dance has pulled many different types of people together. This is not a new thing in
Right.
this life, in this world, since the
Well,
world
just think
has
of
been here.
the tribal circles,
Hmm.
from long ago, and that's kind of how I like to think of my classes, as bringing that kind of community together, and then it takes everyone to make the circle.
Yep. Yeah.
All
And
ages, all sizes, all backgrounds, everyone has a place in that circle. And because
absolutely.
why? Because we all want to be seen and we all want to be heard.
Absolutely.
We all want to be
Yeah.
something.
Well, in our heart, it's the human experience is interesting to say the least. And it has many different, it's a roller coaster ride. And I know that's for me, I know that the magic of dance, I do say magic because it does feel magical. There's
Mhm.
science behind it too.
Totally.
When your endorphins are kicking in and you're like, whoa, and this, you're like, what's happening? And I call it that dance magic, but it does when it allows you. Someone asked me the other day, we were having a conversation and it was like, dance brings me into the present moment.
Hmm.
And the arts in general do that. There's it, when you it allows you to come into your body and be there, and you might have to move through the forest of all these emotions, but when you get to that present moment, you're like,
Ooh,
ah, I've
forest.
arrived.
That's great. The forest of emotions. That's a great phrase right there. Woof. Um, but it's so true, and it really is. And I do say too that it's like a moving meditation because you have to be so
Yeah.
present. You have to be in your body at that moment because you can't be thinking about anything else.
Yeah, it's really hard. Yeah, especially that's why I love doing choreography in class, like learning a combo for the second part of class of having to really, now your right arm is on count two, and like all these little details. Obviously that is really good for your brain on top of it, but
Yeah.
it does allow you to kind of, you can't think of anything else except trying to memorize choreography and then bringing yourself into the present moment to perform it. So as you know that, and you understand that, that's what I really try to get all different types of people, whether you've danced or not, to tap into that. And as you said before too, like, I deal with a lot of older people in class, and I love that that older people feel a safe space to come in, and maybe they've never danced before, and this is the time. I always say the time is now, no matter what. If you 18 or 92, like, the time is now. The time, if your heart is saying do it, I'm glad that you've made that choice. You took the first step, and there's going to be something incredible that's going to happen for your life because you took that first step.
So, so I'm so curious now because you're very eloquent with your words and how you describe some of the things that you've gone through. So, and as a choreographer, and you love musicals, mm, so you gonna write anything about this, or
I mean, like, right, as in, like, write a book, shall we say,
well, write a book would be
or
awesome. I would love you to
make
write
my
a book.
own musical.
I'm thinking of you in your own musical.
Hey, I love it. I love it. A lot of people, because I was actually named after Joseph in the Bible, the Technicolor Dreamcoat Joseph.
Oh, the coat of many
And
colors.
yeah, so I've always like, well, I had a musical because I very much relate to that story, which is strange because I feel like Joseph went through a lot of difficult times, but he was very creative and very colorful, and I love that story.
Mhm.
And I feel like, yeah, and that that Andrew Lloyd Webber did very good on bringing that musical to life. It is exactly what I am, which is campy. So I
Nice.
love campy.
And
Bring on some camp.
Dolly Parton's song "Coat of Many Colors."
Ah, I love Dolly Parton. I adore her. And
Here for Halloween.
are you? That's
I
amazing.
am.
That's amazing. She is
I need
really
a little help up here, but
she's one of those people that that's why we love her. She owns who she is and she's not afraid. And I'm inspired by that,
oh,
where she
totally.
makes the choices that she needs for her life. And she's like, if you like it, great. If you don't, sorry, I'm sending you lots of love. And I'm like, Dolly, she was way ahead of her time too with writing music. She saw
Brilliant,
into the future.
brilliant, brilliant.
And 9 to 5 alone, as much as we're like, we
Ah,
know it by heart. I'm
hilarious.
like, when that came out, that song was ahead of its time. She
Yeah.
was talking about things that were way ahead of its time. Ah, I love it.
Loretta Lynn too. But I love what
Mhm.
Dolly says. She said, "What does she say? It costs a lot to be this trashy."
And I'm like, Dolly, I love you. Speak your truth. I like she doesn't care, and I love
It's
that.
great. But I
But
do
she
love that.
smiles and she has a lot of love in her heart.
Yeah. Oh, and the things she does for kids now. Oh, anyway, we could go on about Dolly,
Oh
but
yeah.
I
I
want to
mean,
go on about you. So, okay, so as you've moved through these phases of dance in the choreography world, and I love the name of your company, by the way, 567. 567.
6, 7 Broadway. Yeah.
It's so good. Um, what else, as a growing entrepreneur,
Mm,
what has recently been difficult? I mean, maybe the pandemic or whatever, but just to move your company ahead or your teaching style or your classes,
yeah.
what's been hard?
I mean, luckily before the pandemic, which we obviously all didn't have any clue was coming. Maybe some people did. But I created a workout video prior to that. So I'm really glad that I listened to my heart. My heart was telling me to do that. And my husband and I, it was the most stressful thing to do, but legal rights and all these other things to make it
Mm,
happen. And I'm really glad I did that, because and then I started putting stuff on YouTube, having no clue how to even, I started learning a lot of how to content create virtual like videos, and I
mhm.
had no clue what I was doing. There's still a lot of stuff where I'm like, must learn more to learn. Here we go. But I started doing a lot of stuff prior to the pandemic, and I'm so glad I did that, even though I was terrified and so nervous about it. But once the pandemic hit, and I was in a really, I have to admit, in the beginning of the pandemic, I was not in a good, like, it was very overwhelming for me. I had not felt anxiety like that in a long
Wow.
time. So like it was, slightly traumatizing, I would say, just with everything going on. And I remember feeling depressed,
Mm,
and I started getting messages from people because the workout video started taking off because everybody was at home and decided they needed the workout video now, which was great. And then the YouTube stuff, I just got schools where like, we're doing virtual, we're using your stuff for virtual stuff. So it was really helpful for me because I wasn't in a good spot to get these messages that were videos that I was like, is this doing anything in the world? Like, is this helping anybody? But then it started showing why I was meant to create that. And then eventually I started doing virtual classes, and that has been really incredible in its own way. It's still a roller coaster ride because we're slightly opening up more. So people are starting to maybe go back in person. But overall, this last over a year, I've been teaching virtual, and people from Australia,
I know it's
Germany,
great.
Brazil. It really joined a lot of people together, and we experienced the pandemic virtually differently. We went from what we were dealing with last December here, or even recently with the Delta variant. But then I have a couple students in Australia and how they're in lockdown,
I
like,
know.
and we all just, and I constantly remind everybody, we're supporting each other. Right now, we are dancing together in this very moment from the safety of our homes. And we are supporting each other, and we are helping the world, and we're helping each other right now in this very moment. So let's not take that lightly. I do remember the days of AOL startup when you would, when internet was not good, and if somebody got on the phone. So let's remember that how cool it is that we can do this right now, and that the internet is probably, hopefully, a little bit better than the 1990s.
Yeah. I think that there's been so many blessings through the pandemic. Obviously, a lot of sorrow, and
Yeah.
illness, but a lot of blessings. And I see that with my dancers too, because I have them all over the world, how they've all been able to connect with each other more and more and more
Yeah.
because of Zoom, because of things
Yeah.
like what you and I are doing right now, and online classes, which
Hmm.
I've been doing for centuries, but
Yeah.
now all my certified teachers and master teachers have been doing them, and just bringing the tribes back together again, community,
Yep.
supporting each
Yeah.
other, and yes, and it's so funny to see different countries at different levels of pandemic lockdown and
Hmm.
scary stuff going on all over the place. Uh,
Yeah.
but just, I mean, again, you're not alone. Just to know you're not alone, and then
Yeah.
to come together and move your body and feel good, because that's all we have.
Yeah. And I really reminded people to connect to music, like, because I said, now is, I, I, I feel like everything in my life, like this, when in doubt, dance it out. Now is the time, and obviously take care of yourself too. If you're like overly exhausted and you need to rest, make sure to rest. I knew I had to take some time for myself like that, but then I knew I was like, okay, it's time to dance. It's time to dance. And for sure, music has always been. I listened to a lot of music,
Mm.
a lot, my whole life, and especially during this pandemic, my AirPods were in. My husband would get so mad because I would be constantly listening to music, and he'd be calling my name, and I would never hear it. And he's like, "You're always listening to music." I'm like, "I need music. I need music,"
Uh,
because it was very healing for me. So I love to encourage people to tap into those things. I'm not saying, you know, spin 30 times and wave your hands, and like, these are things that are like, it's not crazy. The concept is not crazy, but that what can happen is really incredible. It's
yeah.
really incredible.
Well, and that's even a chapter in my book that I wrote about dance, is that music makes me move.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
right?
Yeah.
And to help people find that within themselves, that rhythm.
Mm-hmm. The rhythm of life.
Yeah, yeah, the heartbeat.
I know it's so what like there's a lot of like, deep thoughts about that. Like you have a rhythm, your heart beats on rhythm. Like I love it. And like, but we, we get so used to these things that seem that it's really having to take a step back and be like, wow, like dance really has helped me get into my body
Mhm.
and really allowed me to be present within my body. And some of this takes time. Dance is it is a discipline, so
And
it does take a moment.
yeah, and
You know,
don't you love it as the teacher when your students, I know it's, again, it's a different form, but when um, and I would say 98% of my students are women, just because it's the divine feminine dance form of belly
yeah,
dance. But although
yeah.
men belly dancers are pretty awesome.
I need to get into it. I need to do
Yeah,
it.
come on down. You're not very far
I'm
from.
heading to Palm Springs. We do it.
I'm going to start a men's dance troupe, I swear.
I love
Um,
it.
but oh, see, now I just lost my thought. Um,
We're moving through the rhythm of it all.
um, oh well, that left. I was getting all excited about it.
It'll probably come back.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. I'm just so excited that you're doing what you're doing, and stepping more and more into your growing purpose.
Yeah, absolutely.
And continuing the growth. And I think that's also really important. And I've also found that for myself as a creative, as an artist, that I can't do the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. Even though the dance form has a language, there's
Yeah,
always more to explore with it, you know,
yeah.
and to grow with myself as an artist. Oh, and one of the things I was going to tell you is, so I've been teaching this on and off for years, but I teach a journaling class called From the Body to the Page.
Ooh, I love it.
Yeah.
Journaling's so good. So
Oh,
good.
such a great
That's another beautiful
daily practice.
creative art form that helps grow and lead you to the answers that you need in your life.
But it's getting things out of the body,
Mm-hmm.
right?
100%.
Through movement, but also through words and expression, and
Yeah.
to clarify, to connect. It's just
There's a lot of magic in that.
another
There
method.
really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did that. My husband and I did the artist way.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's been I mean, like it's been out for a long time, but we wound up doing it during
Oh,
the pandemic and it was
I have it right here.
see, it was magical. The
Yeah.
journaling, having to journal every morning, and it was just yeah, getting it all out. It seems to really help guide, especially as you dream at night too, and kind of it guides you to where you should be going, and those doors do open.
Because you have to listen.
Mm-hmm. You're
You
like,
have
what am I gonna write? I don't know. And then suddenly you're like,
uh-huh.
you're like,
Bam.
go, and then like 3 pages are done
Uh-huh.
instantly.
Yeah. It's so good when you can connect to that. And that's what I love teaching my people now, is how to connect to that. And then what do you create from that?
Yeah,
Because thoughts become words, become things.
yeah, yeah,
And how do you create the life that you desire?
yeah. Absolutely. I mean, that is, yeah. There's so much to learn in this lifetime. Like, there's just, and I know for me, I want to continue. It's just a journey. It's a roller coaster, and I think that's why it's really important that we have conversations now like this. Or I think there's a lot because of social media and being behind phones and people saying things that necessarily one would never say to someone's face. Overall, I think it's important to hear our journeys and what we've been through in our each other's lives, so that we can pull from each other, but also learn and grow from each other instead of on I think there's a lot of growth that needs to happen beyond social media.
Yeah.
It's
So
such a big
good.
part of society right now.
Ah, well, this has been such a great conversation. I think we probably could talk for about 4 hours, but or
I
eight
think so
or
too.
20.
And then we would dance. I love it.
Yes. Yeah, we gotta dance. We gotta dance. So anyway, do you have any last words for our people?
I mean, the thing that comes to mind is really, I just want to encourage anybody. Well, first of all, if you ever want to dance it out with me, you can find me at 567broadway.com. Everything's there. I have YouTube stuff, I have a workout video, I have live stream classes. But if you ever have any questions, don't hesitate to reach me at 567broadway.com. But I just want to encourage anybody out there, if your heart is telling you to do something, I just want to encourage you to take that kickball change, step touch forward, to that, whatever that is. And I know for me, and hopefully maybe it helps someone, is that dance has been so helpful for me. Movement, the arts, music, creativity has been so helpful to guide me in my life. And I hope that that can help someone out there if they're feeling that tug. Now's the time. So I hope that you take that kickball change forward.
I love that. Take that kickball change forward or that shoulder shimmy.
Or a shimmy. I mean, hey, I like a good shimmy.
Sweet. I love it. Well, thank you so much for spending time with me today and with all our people out in Heart and Hustle Land. And thank you, my friends out there in Heart and Hustle Land, for spending time with us. And as always, I love to hear your takeaways, your questions, your thoughts, your comments. I will also post all of Joseph's stuff in the links. I give you all that good juice so you can connect with him as well, because I love connecting people with each other.
Yes.
So,
Thank you. Thank you. And
so
thank you so much
good.
for having me on. It's been so great
Awesome.
and
All right.
talking about all
Until
of this. So thank
everybody
you.
out there, thank you. Until we meet again, I'll see you next time.